Hi guys, Eric here. I am driving, so this video will not be edited like the other one was, but it also won't be as long, so that's okay. I left off last time and saying, just before losing my voice, and saying about the angst that causes an INFJ to just go through and I'm sure it's not solely related to INFJs, but because I know that because I know that we are involved in the categories, you know what I mean, in the same category. I'm titling it with INFJ, but that's also because I think that it's good to understand how it affects us in terms of our thought patterns. I'm sure other people, lots of different types, go through the same exact. I don't like typology. I feel like it's way too limiting. But for the sake of this video and the topic at hand, and different personality types of different people, I'm sure they all go through the same thing, but mentally, what they're thinking when it happens and how they respond to it emotionally, I'm sure is a little bit different. Because we are HSPs and INFJs are, and we are very sensitive people. So, kind of before I blow my voice out again, let's try not to do that. I'm going to make this one relatively brief. I could only think of three different psychosomatic breaks that I personally can recall in my own life. But the last one is emotional meltdowns, which I ended on in the last video whenever I was talking about angst, and I said, and now the INFJ is having an emotional meltdown. And I had to stop the video there. That's the third type and for a reminder for those who don't remember, psychosomatic means of or relating to a person's mental state. So an INFJ's mental state can be easily affected by our external surroundings. Again, being HSPs and being very sensitive to types of stimuli, it can be very easy, and that's the reason why I'm making these videos and hashtagging INFJs, is because it happens a lot more with us. Because we are HSPs, we are hypersensitive, and we are very emotionally sensitive. So I think it's much more common for us INFJs to go through these types of psychosomatic breaks. Even if other people go through them, it is definitely more common. Any type of meltdown or being overwhelmed is way more common as an INFJ, I'm sure. I don't think that there's really any question, not saying it's limited to us, but definitely we are one of the ones that experience a lot of internal turmoil. So it's emotional meltdowns when an INFJ's emotions are overstimulated. So stimuli of the five senses does not affect emotions. However, as I've said before, being HSPs, we have a hyperreactive nervous system, and that includes emotional responses in the brain. To our brain, sending off those neurons, we feel those emotions more intensely. So when somebody else around us is sad, we want to cry because they're sad. And we are sad that they're sad and they shouldn't have to be sad, and that upsets us because they're upset. It's a vicious cycle. And surrounding yourself with negativity will only exhaust you more emotionally. So if these people will be kind enough to let me over, not cut me off, thank you. So when an INFJ is surrounded by people, it can become a very toxic environment. Even if the people around them are not toxic, INFJs are sensitive to the emotional responses that people exhibit. And that is how an emotional psychosomatic break takes place. What ends up happening is the INFJ becomes so emotionally involved, not invested, involved. Those are two different things. And for you INFJs out there, you might not be self-aware of what I'm about to say, and I want to warn you that this may dive into your psyche a bit, and it may actually hurt a little bit to hear, but I promise you it's not an insult or anything bad. It's not anything bad. But it's just, it might open your eyes to a little bit of pain. So if you want to skip ahead in this video, good 30 seconds if I'm not talking about it, but if if just a warning, because I didn't want to shock you. You INFJs, there's a difference between being invested and being involved. Being involved can be voluntary or involuntary. People can involve you even if you don't want to be involved because you're an HSP. You are hypersensitive and you care, and that can be very taxing. Being invested in someone means that you have put in the conscious time and effort to bring about a result. Being involved means that even if you are, or even if you're not invested in the person, you are involved in the situation by something they have said or done to you. And sometimes that can result in trauma or a psychosomatic cycle, as I call it. And now I'm going to discuss psychosomatic cycles, because that leads me into the emotional exhaustion part. So psychosomatic cycles, these are big words, but thank God I love to learn, right? Psychosomatic cycles are a person's mental state that continues to repeat a loop. You've heard me talk about NITI loops. I didn't find that anywhere else, but NITI loops or FE loops. These are what are called psychosomatic cycles. When your brain continues to replay an event, which is INFJs are very prone to, because we reflect on the events that just occurred or occurred 2 months ago or 2 years ago, we still reflect on them. So a psychosomatic, come on dude, get over it, thank you. A psychosomatic cycle is, get over, hang on, I'm passing these people. They're driving between the white lines. I need to get around them. I'm so sorry, guys. So, a psychosomatic cycle is when the brain encounters some type of stimuli, emotional distress. Your adrenaline starts running. You become self-aware or you become defensive. You end up going on edge. Someone raises their voice like this. You know, some of you are probably like, "Ooh, that's what I'm talking about." That is a psychosomatic cycle. What ends up happening is your brain foresees a past event coming and predicts it before it happens. Some people would call this self-sabotaging. No, it's not. No, it's not. They are not the same thing. Self-sabotaging is whenever you fulfill the act of preventing something that hasn't even happened yet because you're afraid it's going to happen. A psychosomatic cycle is the brain simulating or preparing for something before it happens. And here we go again. And sorry, people are just nuts on the road. I don't understand how hard it is to drive between the white lines. So a psychosomatic cycle is when that brain continually repeats that process of thinking. Doesn't mean that you act on it. That's self-sabotaging. However, it is the predecessor to a self-sabotaging situation. This means that the INFJ may become anxious and simulate the meltdown before it ever happens and overreact to emotional stimuli. That is why it happens most of the time. INFJs overreact not because they're sensitive people. If you're an INFJ, you overreact a lot. You know what I'm talking about. You're emotionally out there. And then you cry, and then you say, "I'm so sorry, you are in a psychosomatic cycle." There's nothing wrong. There is no reason you have to live this way. It's not normal. And you hear me say a lot in my videos, it's normal, it's okay, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you, but it's not normal. It is a cycle that should be maintained and should be broken. And you can break it if you are aware of it. So for you INFJs, I'm going to tie this video up here shortly with this topic. Psychosomatic cycles are a willing subjection, not a mandation. They do not happen because of the way your brain is wired. They do not happen because you are a sensitive person or a highly sensitive person. They happen because the issue is never dealt with in the brain. your brain repeats the process and you accept that way of thinking, so your brain repeats the process again, so you experience the situational meltdown, and then you think you're better, and when it happens again, you accept that it happens, you accept that it's happening, and you learn to cope with it. You don't have to. You do not have to. My video is about to end. I'm gonna have to stop here. Good luck.